You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Coogs, daily podcast about your Houston Cougars. I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach Parker Ainsworth. And whether you're a Houston fan or just a hater who came to stop by, and I weirdly feel like today's going to be a day that attracts a lot of those. Thank you for making Locked On Coogs your first listen today, making us your first listen each and every day here at Locked On Coogs. If you want to join the conversation but don't know what to say, tell us in the comments down below about a time you were wrong, because I was very wrong on this one. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time, best place to get last minutes at the lowest prices guaranteed. But got to talk a little about today's news of the day. I had a whole show planned, so we'll get into talking about the offense coordinator options and Big 12 things and all of that. But before we get to any of that, reports are that Shiel Wood is on his way to Lubbock as I record this to accept a defensive coordinator position at Texas Tech. Yes, the same Shiel Woods who was the defensive coordinator for the Houston Cougars just last season. The defense under Shiel Wood at Houston ranked in the top 30 nationally, spent a chunk of the season ranked atop the Big 12. I think finished technically second in total defense in the Big 12. And he's expected to take the same position at Texas Tech. Lots of things flying around the internet on this one. And I want to just spend a segment talking about what we got right now, right? Rumors were going into Tuesday that Texas Tech was going to reach out to him. I mentioned on Tuesday's show that it felt like a contract stunt. Like, hey, he had 1 year, $750,000 left on his contract. He's going to take the Tech offer. He go back up to Houston, his buddy Willie Fritz, and say, hey, beat this. And with Dana Holgerson's contract situation and Houston just getting some money because Nebraska just hired him, so it's money they don't owe Willie or don't owe Dana anymore. You would have thought that this money could have spent on this hire. Instead, it sounds like, and this is between some DMs, between reading what Duarte wrote for the Chronicle and between reading a couple other things out there on Football Scoop and stuff like that, and talking to my Texas Tech guy a little bit. Shout out to Chris, by the way. Chris Love was a good dude. Sounds like the school was, working to sweeten the deal or something with Shiel Wood, but they didn't necessarily get a whole lot of opportunity to do that. He didn't really talk a whole lot about anything with the University of Houston before heading out of town to get to Lubbock. I got family in Lubbock. I don't want to talk too poorly about the city, but I will say that that's not a thing that I would personally be doing. As someone who spent time both in Houston and Lubbock, I think my choice there would be clear. Now, I will say that, honestly, with the money coming in from the Holgerson thing, Fritz and Joey McGuire, the head coach at Texas Tech, make roughly the same amount of money annually. $750,000 is pretty good for a Big 12 coordinator, and they have more money to offer him, and he certainly has shown he'd earned it. I feel like Ed Houston had adequate time to make a response offer. They probably could have beaten the million-ish I'm hearing that he was getting offered at Tech. And for what it's worth, Houston has paid coordinators that much before. They did that under the Holgerson administration and the Big 12 and things like that. Man, this one hurts. And I think it mostly hurts because of the timing. I want to get to that at the end of this. But I do think that, Fritz is a defensive guy as a head coach. He was defensive coordinator. It's been a long time since he was a non-head coach, but he was defensive coordinator a long time ago. And he's got connections to defensive guys across the board. And for what it's worth, Shiel Wood has since 2020. Okay, he spent 2020, 2021 at Army. 2022, he was at Troy. 2023, he was at Tulane. 2024, he's at Houston. Now 2025, he's going to be at Texas Tech. This guy is a bouncer, bouncing around a lot. And for what it's worth, so he went to and graduated from Wofford University, at Wofford College, Wofford. And he spent some time there in like 2010, 11, 12, took a break to be with his family, and then came back as a safety coach in 2016, became their DC in 2017, and then started jumping right away, right? This guy's just a jumper. And so maybe I should have seen this coming. I just thought he would see out his contract. And admittedly, this may be because after the kind of season Houston's defense had, they didn't offer him an extension or offer him a increase in pay or like that on Sunday or Monday to end the season right away. Like, hey, we appreciate what you did or whatever. Maybe that was something there. I fully expected that he'd be back because he and Fritz came together and it was just a 2-year contract. And I thought Houston would lose him at the end of next year to be a head coach somewhere, not this year to be a defense coordinator in the Big 12. Names have been thrown around as far as replacements go. Steve Helwick, who I like a lot, writes a lot about college football, is Houston-based. He mentioned that Brian Smith at Rice would be a name to watch. Brian Smith, the defense coordinator at Rice, has pro experience. He was on the good Jet staffs in 2007 to 14. Think like Sanchez, AFC Championship games, etc. So also spent a year with the Eagles, but pro game experience. Been at Rice since 2018. Had a bunch of positions tagged to his name, but has been the defense coordinator there since 2018. Knows Houston, knows the area. Obviously, would be a step up for him. I think you could go get him if you wanted. He's a UMass grad, but he's spent a lot of time here, obviously, since he's been at Rice since 2018. Guys, I'm keeping an eye on our Chris Hampton, if they're going to go outside of things. Chris Hampton's just 38 years old. He was a defense coordinator at Tulane with Willie in 2021-22 when they're kind of getting really good there. And he has coached DBs at Duke, Tulane, McNeese, and Central Arkansas. So I think he understands enough about with the Tulane, the McNeese, and even Central Arkansas, kind of this part of the world as far as recruiting basis would go. Currently, Chris Hampton is the co-defense coordinator at Oregon, which is the number one team in America, not necessarily because of their defense. They're just really good at everything. But I think that'd be a phone call Willie makes this week to say, hey, Chris, what would it take to get you? Right now, he's making undoubtedly a bunch of money in bonuses because they're having a great year, but his base salary at Oregon is $800,000. I would imagine whatever they were going to respond to Shiel Wood with would have been more than that. He was making, Shiel Wood's base was $750,000. So I think that's actually a contract they can actually get out there and get on top of, which I think is a credit to what Houston's doing for what it's worth. And then a name if you're going to look internally and get this done fast. Zach Etheridge is a climber in this industry. Was an associate head coach at Auburn, coached the secondary, coached Houston's DBs in 2019-20. So he's been here before. It's not like just his first year. He's currently the DBs coach as well. He coached Louisiana corners, coached corners and outside linebackers at West Carolina. Very well respected around coaching circles. And Zach Etheridge is also very well respected internally amongst the guys on the defense. I also think having a great DBs coach like Josh Christian Young to kind of share the DBs load if you were to promote Etheridge helps out a lot because it kind of puts more responsibility on JCY's plate. And it also means that like when Zach would be doing defense coordinator things, ZCY would be able to JCY be able to do the DBs things, right? And so I think that there are options here. The biggest problem in this was not necessarily losing a defensive coordinator, although Shiel Wood is really good, right? The defense was really good last year. Truthfully, you're going to graduate a lot of those guys. A lot of them left on senior day, and some are going to go pro, like Keith Cooper and stuff like that. We did see that. It looks like Jeremiah Wilson will enter the transfer portal. How that's tied to Wood or not Wood, I don't know. He had a kind of year that he might have entered the portal anyway. Timing is timing. The biggest issue on the defensive coordinator position, though, is that timing with the portal opening back up. Signing day starting this week. Fritz and company already have to find an offense coordinator. The timing is the worst part of this, right? And I don't think Shiel Wood is irreplaceable, right? We said this is a good defense. It's not the 85 Bears defense or anything like that. He is replaceable. And again, if you can keep all your position coaches intact, keep those relationships built, hopefully you can get this thing going. That's why I kind of feel like a Chris Hampton, who Fritz trusts. You can maybe say, hey, you can even have an associate head coach tagged into your title as well. If you're going from Oregon to Houston to be the only defense coordinator as opposed to a co-defense coordinator or whatever. Or you promote like a Zach Etheridge from internally, right? Something like that to get this done quickly, because that is the biggest deal here. To me, Um, this is breaking news. We'll talk more about that in a second. So that's what I've got on it right now. Now, as this continues to go, I'm going to dive into more defensive candidates and get more out to you. But that's what I've got right now on the defensive coordinator search and defensive coordinator story. I want to get to the offensive coordinator search and the offensive coordinator story. But before we get to that, I do want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Best place to get last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. This cool new part of the app called Game Time Picks, right? And so it uses artificial intelligence and kind of compares values and seats and views and things like that. And it tells you the best deal on that sports ticket, concert ticket, comedy show, theater, etc. Whatever kind of event you're going for, it finds you the best deal in that particular venue for that event. Game Time lowest ticket guarantee means you get credit back 110% of the difference if you can find the same section and row cheaper somewhere else. So it's best deal in town, and you know it. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.